Have you ever wanted to dip your toes in crystal clear beaches, or explore endless caves that seem to go on forever, or look at mountains and volcanoes from a safe spot surrounded by lush forests? Well, Philippines is the place for you. As a Filipino native, I was born there and I spent my first 6 years there, and I've been going home ever since, every 2 or 3 years. Um, a travel guide by Singapore says, visiting Philippines once is unfair because of all the available attractions there. So today, I would like to describe to you the geological beauties in the Philippines. And I will be presenting that by breaking down the Philippines into three main regions. The Luzon region, the Visayas region, which is with Palawan, because it's by itself, and the Mindanao region. So, to begin with, I would like to start with the Luzon region. In Luzon, there are three main attractions there. We have the Banoy Rice Terraces, we have the Mayan Volcano, and we have the 100 Islands. I'll start with the Banoy Rice Terraces. Amy Tikanen, author for Britannica Encyclopedia, says, it is a living cultural landscape of unparalleled beauty. The Ifugao people built this by hand, and they've been doing so for generations, and it has been an amazing tourist attraction. They're allowed to visit here and walk around the terraces and see like the people building it, because it's still being built today and preserved. The next area in the zone, we have the Mayon Volcano National Park. Oregon State University describes it as a beautifully symmetrical, and it rises 2,462 meters above the Gulf. It is the most active volcano in the Philippines. What gives it the symmetrical shape is whenever the volcano like erupts, it always comes out of the point, and the lava comes down equally, giving it that symmetrical look. And you can view it from a safe distance in the port. Our next area would be the 100 Islands. The 100 Islands consists of 124 islands in low tide and 123 islands during high tide. These islands can be visited by boat, and each island has a characteristic. Estan Cabigas, a Filipino reporter, describes it as a sprinkling of 123 islets in a beautiful tropical sea with white sand beaches, caves, and habitats to various species of birds and fruit bats. So each island has its own characteristics, and it can be visited. Some islands have caves, some islands have rocky terrain which you can hike up, and some islands just have white beaches that you can lay and rest on with your family. So for our next region, we have Visayas with Palawan. In Visayas, we have the chocolate hills of Bohol. It consists of 1,776 hills, and it is spread over 50 square kilometers. The reason it has its name is during dry seasons, the grass on each hill dries up, and it looks like chocolate spreading all over the Philippines. Almost good enough to eat. And the next destination we have is the subterranean river in Palawan. I have been to this tour myself, and it is probably one of the darkest places I've ever seen. You go on a boat that fits about 8 to 10 people, and there's a guide in front, and then a guy in front paddling the boat by himself. And once you go in, the guy flashes his light and says like, oh, if you look at this rock formation, you can see that it looks like the moon, or this one looks like a dinosaur. And it goes on forever, and there's like two different currents, one going in and then one going out. And what sucks is my brother almost pushed me off of it. And it was pretty dark, and I could barely see anything. But it was pretty fun. It was still a fun experience. And the next, we have the Mindanao region. In Mindanao, we have the Tubataha Reefs in the Sulu Sea. only certain parts are explorable with an expert, of course, because UNESCO, the United Nations of Education, Scientific, Cultural Organization, protects the reef. Because the reef ecosystem supports over 350 species of coral and almost 500 species of fish. It's amazing. Another attraction in Mindanao is Mount Hamiguitan in Davao. UNESCO also protects this because it has different elevations to it, which gives different habitats to a bunch of different species. There is 8 fauna species that is only found in this mountain. And like the Mayan volcano, it can only be amazed at from a distance. So, the next time you have any travel destinations or want to visit somewhere tropical, Philippines is the place for you. The size is very, like there's some that like probably as tall as this building, and then there's some that's like twice the size.
Excuse me. Carlos, why don't you tell him what you thought while he's sitting down?
Like I thought it was like really well organized, like signposts everywhere, which was like good. Like we knew what you were gonna talk about and which region you were gonna talk about. The introduction I thought was really good because it was very concise and kind of you got to the point like really quick, which again I thought it was good, and like your sources and all that stuff was, we heard that, so that was good. So good job, I guess.
Good job, I guess. All right, RJ, I like the visualization that you have at the beginning. I think that that's intriguing, and it sounds like you've got some energy and enthusiasm for what you're talking about. I like the personal justification also. There's a very clear statement of what your goal is, so we know from the very beginning where you're headed. And I thought that you had a very clear preview also. You structured it spatially. We're just looking at the features in each of these particular areas in the Philippines, and I thought that that was fine. It makes it easy to follow what you're talking about there. There's a lot of good supporting material. I heard quotes on almost every point that you had. There's some interesting information that's provided. Sometimes it's just a evaluation and description, but there's also some background information. A couple of places I'd have liked maybe a little bit more information, like the whole terraced area that's being discussed there. There's got to be a reason that they do that, what it is that is being produced there, historical context. I could use a little bit more information about some of those things. Especially the human-created stuff. That seems like it would make the most sense. But you had good descriptions of everything, and there's always a visual that goes along with it that helps quite a bit. That also creates the transition as well. So structurally, it's fine. The thing that I think is a little bit problematic about the structure are the transitions. That it's got, and the next thing is, and another thing is, and the next thing, and the next thing, and it starts sounding like a list, and that's not the way you want the speech to work. Now you've got it divided into the 3 areas, so why don't we just make it like it's a trip, Yeah. Let's start off here at the northern part of the Philippines with this particular area, blah, 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 and let's visit some places onshore, and then here's some places offshore, and here's something that we can even look at under the shore, that kind of thing. So, and now that we've completed our exploration of the northern part of the Philippines, let's move to this other section here, which I told you about before is it's defined by these characteristics, and the 3 features that I want to talk about here. Well, to begin with, there's this. You just need to kind of get the language to flow a little bit smoother instead of it just being a checkpoint in the presentation, because that's the thing that I think detracts from the presentation. Otherwise, everything else is really good. I think you look at us and you're talking to us enthusiastically about the subject. You've got interesting things to say about each of the points. You've got a visual that goes along with all those points. It's the one thing that sounds just a little mechanical and awkward in the presentation, and it detracts from that. Otherwise, like I said, I thought there was very good content and that you spoke effectively. The visuals I think are interesting. There might have been a couple of times when I think maybe turning the lights off would have given us a more dramatic image of what you were talking about. I like the story you talk about your brother almost pushing you off the boat. I think that's fun. You got a little bit more time, so there are places where you could add some more details like that and make it even more intriguing. But I thought that you did a very good job on those things. All right, thank you.